49ers preseason takeaways after the 16-13 loss to the Houston Texans. Well, the depth on that defensive interior, the 49ers don't really know where their outside pass rush is going to come. But if you look at the inside, it was pretty encouraging. Of course, they have Earl Mitchell, solid presence there at nose tackle. He's got to be better than last year, though. DeForest Buckner could become one of the league's best defensive tackles. And then behind Buckner, you have Sheldon Day and DJ Jones having really good camps so far, and they showed out last night as well. Day recorded 5 tackles and a forced fumble. Jones came up with 3 tackles and a forced fumble as well. Jones lost 20 pounds from the end of last season, where he regularly found himself on the inactive list for games for San Francisco. Jones talked about how it's been a big-time turnaround for him. So for me, I have no worries about this defensive interior for San Francisco. The fact that there wasn't 1 sack registered last night, though, does have me a little worried about the edge rusher position and the 49ers' ability to create sacks in 2018. So keep that in mind. We'll be tracking that for Week 3 and Week 4 this preseason. And hey, we saw Trent Taylor. He had missed most of the offseason program following surgery on his lower back, but he's been slowly working his way back into form. He showed some solid ability last night. And during joint practices with the Texans, he looked pretty darn good as well. Now, the stat line isn't going to jump out at you for Trent Taylor. Only 2 catches for 7 yards, but both those catches were very important. Obviously, one of them was a touchdown reception, a 2-yard touchdown pass from Jimmy Garoppolo. And then the next one was a 5-yard grab to extend the 49ers' second drive and move the chains. And that's why Trent Taylor is so important to this team. He is the chain mover. That's who he is. He's a premier slot receiver. Those are his stats from 2017. Not crazy good by any means, but still, I think last night was an indicator of what Trent Taylor will bring to this 49ers team. Yes, I understand there is still Dante Pettis, but still, Trent Taylor is the guy at slot. All right, let's talk about the tons of penalties from last night. There's nothing a coach hates more than, obviously, violations. The 49ers were called for a total of 15 flags, totaling 140 yards, including pre-snap penalties like these: false start, illegal formation, false start again from Darrell Williams, backup tackle, and then a neutral zone infraction. So I understand it's the preseason, and penalties are going to happen more so during this time than the regular season. But when they're coming from starters, that's where I'm concerned, particularly during a sequence involving Weston Richburg. He was called for holding, and then another 15 yards after that when he got into it with an official. You also got a taste of the new NFL helmet rule last night, folks. Raheem Mostert and Jeremiah Atachu were both flagged for those fouls, and both were extremely questionable. So hopefully this whole helmet rule thing doesn't turn into a disaster during the regular season. All right, let's talk about the 49ers rumors here. Jerick McKinnon out until Week 1. That is the scenario that we are staring at right now. 4 heads on this one. So McKinnon suffered a calf injury a week ago. The 49ers want to play it carefully with their star running back, and they should. They signed this guy to a 4-year, $30 million deal. The 49ers want to take their time, want to go through the proper precautions here. And although missing the preseason could hurt McKinnon in the short term as he's trying to learn this zone blocking scheme in the Kyle Shanahan offense, I think he'll be okay for the regular season. And if McKinnon goes through some learning curves, if you will, there still are the likes of Matt Breida and Raheem Mostert and Joe Williams if he makes the team. So as we stand, now you got Joe Williams, Alfred Morris, and Jeremy McNichols all fighting for roster spots in the meantime, as Matt Breida is out for the rest of the preseason as well. And when you take a look at these career stats for McKinnon, I'll tell you, 2018 going to look a lot better than those numbers there. That I can tell you. All right, next up on the list is the linebacker stock trending down in terms of an positional group, collectively speaking. 2 heads on this one. The main reason I'm giving it some credence is the fact that The linebackers for the 49ers have seen their fair share of injuries so far in preseason. Malcolm Smith has been dealing with a hamstring. We won't see him the rest of the preseason, which is not good news at all. We're talking about a guy we haven't seen on the football field since last August. Brock Coyle has been dealing with a hip injury. He did recently return to practice, but he needs to be reliable, and so far he hasn't been. And then there's Fred Warner, who did play last night, but was dealing with a chest contusion so far in training camp. Got back recently, a little healthier now, but something to keep in mind. And Reuben Foster is healthy right now, but you never know with him because he had like 5 injuries last year for the San Francisco 49ers. So some concerns at linebacker in terms of health, but I am not sounding the alarm just yet. All right, we still got to figure out right guard here, folks. Will Josh Garnett win that spot over Jonathan Cooper? I'm only going to give it one jet head for now. Now, Garnett recently returned to practice following a knee injury, and he was quickly ushered into first-team repetitions. Now, for the battle with right guard here, safe to say that it was off to a slow start with Garnett dealing with that knee injury, and Jonathan Cooper started training camp off on the PUP list. That left the likes of Mike Person and Eric Magnuson battling for top reps, and Garnett, look, has the pedigree of being a first-round selection. He lost some 20 pounds to be a better fit in Kyle Shanahan's scheme. I get that. And in Week 2's preseason game, Person actually got the start. Then it was Garnett who went in, and then it was Jonathan Cooper after that. In terms of my projected offensive line, you guys know where I stand at right guard. I still have Jonathan Cooper as the guy winning that spot. But I will say, I'm not as sure about that as I once was. Now, Staley there at left tackle, Tomlinson at left guard, Richburg at center, McGlinchey at right tackle. Those guys are cemented there, but right guard is the really one starting spot we're still wondering about with the 49ers. All right, funny little note here. How about this? The old Patriots quarterbacks, one of them current, of course, Tom Brady, Jacoby Brissett, and Jimmy Garoppolo still text? They do. This coming from WEEI, radio station in Boston. Garoppolo, Brissett, and Brady are still very close. Now, the three have formed what they call the Wolf Pack, inspired by The Hangover, of course, and Brady made the reference after the 2016 AFC Championship game, you may recall. Garoppolo told WEEI that the three players throw out jokes, play off each other in their group chat, and I think this is pretty cool, even though the three of them are not on the same team anymore. Collectively, it's nice to see that old teammates are keeping in touch, and it wouldn't hurt Garoppolo to continue to pick Tom Brady's brain, one of the premier quarterbacks in the NFL. Now, how about this? Will Jimmy Garoppolo have a better 2018 season than Tom Brady, the reigning MVP? Type away, type A for yes, type B for no in the comments section on Facebook Live as well as YouTube. As you guys know, I track what you guys say, so type away on those keyboards. All right, next up here, George Kittle to be a fantasy football sleeper. Pretty faithful in this one. 3 jet heads here. Kittle has been a popular pick by many fantasy analysts out there, and with good reason. I mean, you want to talk about return on investment. His current ADP is 130, which is good for tight end number 13. And I think Kittle has a great chance to beat out his current value. Now, he won't be playing the rest of the preseason due to injury, which I think makes him an even quieter sleeper, if you will. He won't have any crazy highlights, not as much tape, and not as many rumors about him. But the reality is, he and Garoppolo have developed a nice relationship, so missing the preseason isn't the biggest deal for George Kittle. As a rookie, had a solid campaign, 43 receptions, 515 yards, and a pair of touchdowns on 63 total targets. And in fantasy football, it's always smart to wait on a tight end. If you don't get Gronkowski, you wait forever. Then you should get this guy, George Kittle. I'll be targeting him in my fantasy football drafts. All right, and then finally, Alfred Morris to make an impact this season for the 49ers. Firmly in the rumor category here, guys. 2 jet heads on this. Yes, we know Morris is a member of the 49ers as we stand. And he's an interesting story here because now he is battling with the likes of Raheem Mostert and Joe Williams for that third running back spot. You guys know that I think Mostert actually gets it. But how about this scenario? What if the injury to Breida or McKinnon or both of them are worse than what we originally thought, which means the 49ers may be forced to bring on another running back, and Alfred Morris could be that guy. Now, there's no doubt it's an uphill climb for Morris to make the team, especially with incumbents Mostert and Williams knowing the offense better, although, on the other hand, Morris does have experience playing under Kyle Shanahan back with the Washington Redskins. Now, Morris is a big body. He's 5'11", 222 pounds, something Mostert and Williams can't necessarily say themselves. And in 6 NFL seasons with Washington and Dallas, Morris has averaged 4.4 yards while rushing for just a shade over 5,500 yards and 32 total touchdowns. I think he could be a viable option for San Francisco if they are forced to go in that direction due to the apparent injuries of Matt Breida and Jerick McKinnon. We'll see if they are more serious than we originally thought, but that likely is not the case, so we'll see about the future with Alfred Morris.